fewer long-term relationships.
The CDC has reported a 23% drop in the fertility rate since reaching a peak in 2007. That's the same year Apple released the iPhone. In the early years of the iPhone, AT&T had the exclusive contract. So researchers compared fertility rates in areas that had widespread AT&T coverage to counties with little or none. Researchers saying as smartphones became common, time spent with friends and sexual activity fell sharply, while consumption of pornography, a possible substitute for a sexual partner, rose.
Can you say that smartphones are really killing the mood and leading to less babies?
This report really does not conclude anything other than there may be an association, there may be a link. Smartphones may be involved in that, but there is a laundry list of reasons why people are having less children.
Experts say other factors must be taken into account, including more access to contraception and economic reasons, including childcare costs. Birth rates dropped after the economic crisis of 2008, but when the economy picked up, experts say there was no rebound in births, meaning the issue is more complicated than the cost of living.
A fascinating trend. Lionel Moise, thank you for that story. The news never stops. You can find us anywhere you stream live news. And if you're on the go, we're on the ABC News app and abcnews.com too. I'm Andrew Dimber. Thanks for streaming with us. abcnews.com too. I'm Andrew Dimber. Thanks for streaming with us. There's more news up next. Stay with us.
For the ones who know well-prepared workdays land right on time, there's Granger. For the ones who get it done.
Hi, this is fraud. Never accept gifts for your Medicare number. And get wise to Medicare fraud. Learn more at Medicare.gov/fraud.
For letting calls go to voicemail. For reconnecting. Laurentians, Portugal.
Watching America's #1 streaming news. Live reporting, breaking new exclusives. Keep streaming with ABC News Live.
Thanks for streaming with us. Here are some of the top stories that we're following. The death toll in that growing Ebola outbreak in eastern Congo has now topped 100. There have been 550 confirmed cases of the virus, but health officials believe the true number could be higher because the outbreak was discovered weeks after it began. However, the World Health Organization still says the risk to the global community is low. An Air Canada pilot busted after allegedly flying thousands of passengers on hundreds of flights without a proper license. That pilot was caught after a fraud investigation by regional police. Air Canada saying in a statement that the safety of flyers was not compromised because all the airline's pilots undergo mandatory flying competency training every 6 months. The pilot no longer works for the airline and is due back in court later this month. And tonight is Game 4 of the Stanley Cup Final. The Carolina Hurricanes are looking to tie the series 2 games apiece, but they'll have to do it in enemy territory. The Las Vegas Golden Knights are looking to take a commanding 3-1 lead and claim their second. you've been in a car accident recently, there are 3 mistakes people make that can cost them.
You know, it's a great crew. They I like that they put in a first-time flyer, and there's some experience there. Lots of different military services recommended, but as I predicted, there are 2 test pilots on board: the commander, Randy, and then also Luca from the Italian Air Force. And so you got the 2 test pilots and the 2 mission specialists. I think one of the happier guys in the crowd might be Bob Hines, because he's backup, and typically backup goes on to fly in the next flight. So that's kind of exciting. We'll see if that holds true. You can point out that there are no women in the crew, and I've already seen a lot of backlash about that on social media. But you know, NASA doesn't pick people specifically to make a diverse crew. They try to pick crew members that are best fit for the job, and also that work well together. And I think that we can only assume from their selection that there will definitely be a woman on Artemis 4, because they've always said they're taking the first woman to the moon. So I don't feel slighted by the absence of a woman, and I think everyone they picked is perfect for the job.
Susan, are these astronauts now technically out of the running to be picked for the actual moon landings? And if so, do you think there's some sort of measure of, I don't know, disappointment for them today because they won't be going to the moon?
Now, there's the million-dollar question. Typically, you would not see somebody flying Artemis 4 who flew on Artemis 3. That's not generally how it's ever happened. But are they disappointed? You know, that flight, having a space flight is never disappointing. Being assigned to a space flight. Yeah, they may not be on Artemis 4, and I'm sure they're all hoping there will be Artemis 5, 6, 7, and 8, and they will pick up one of those and actually land on the moon. So I doubt they're disappointed, but I do think that they were all kind of hoping to be ones that landed on the moon the first time.
All right, Susan Kilrain, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, President Trump is blaming Iran for shooting down a U.S. Army Apache helicopter and now vowing to respond as necessary. The president sharing the update on Truth Social, confirming it was Iran that downed the attack chopper near the Strait of Hormuz yesterday. Fortunately, both pilots aboard are safe and uninjured. ABC News learning they were picked up out of the water by an unmanned surface vessel and brought to land. So what does this mean for peace talks? The president was just saying he's hopeful negotiations with Iran are still on track, suggesting an agreement could come 1 or 2 days from now. Iran and Israel are still holding their ceasefire following this weekend's dangerous escalation with Hezbollah in Lebanon. Let's bring in our White House correspondent Karen Travers and senior Pentagon reporter Luis Martinez for more. Luis, President Trump was saying a report would be issued. Is that what he's referencing when he says Iran is responsible here?
It likely is, Andrew, because he did say that there would be more details to come, and we've been seeing these details come out piecemeal throughout the day. What we do know now from the president is that it appears that this Apache helicopter was shot down. The question is exactly where or when, but what we have learned is that a first-of-its-kind rescue took place in that a boat drone, if we can call it that, an unmanned surface vessel, was sent to pick up the 2 pilots after they had landed in the water. And the new detail that we have, Andrew, is that the 2 pilots were then able to board this boat drone, which then took them off to another location in the water, where they were then plucked and hoisted up by a helicopter that took them to a safer location. And we should point out, all of this happened during nighttime. In the middle of the night, around 4 in the morning local time, as this helicopter, normally accompanied by another helicopter, would have been operating together. And then we know now that this boat drone was able to pluck them out of the water. Now, if you're hearing about this capability for the first time, we should point out that the Navy has had a task force in place for the last 5 years, where they've been growing and growing substantially by dozens now, if not more, these autonomous surface drones that gather intelligence and surveillance that is used by the Navy.
Let's go to Karen now. Karen, how is the president responding to all of this?
Andrew, in that social media post where he said that it was Iran that shot down this helicopter, the president says that the United States, quote, must of necessity respond to this attack. Now, he is not specific on what that means, how and when the United States would respond, whether that's militarily or through some other means. But Andrew, when you look back over the last week at some of the comments the president has made about his red line for starting major combat against Iran again, it has shifted. We saw him say last week it would be deaths of U.S. service members, which of course did not happen here. And then over the weekend, the president said that if he didn't think he could make a deal, or if it wasn't coming together quickly enough, then he would consider restarting those major strikes. Now, the president, though, at the same time, has also sounded very hesitant to go back down that route. Last night, when he was talking to reporters, he talked about how costly that would be in terms of financial costs to Iran and other countries in the rebuilding, but also in the potential of human lives lost. So all indications were that the president did not want to go in that direction and restart major military operations. But in this post, because of the taking down of this helicopter, the president saying the U.S. will respond. He just isn't specifying yet how and when.
All right, Karen Travers and Luis Martinez, thank you both. A former NHL player says magic mushrooms, otherwise known as psilocybin, may be the key to treating people suffering from traumatic brain injuries. ABC's Perry Russom takes a look at the use of those drugs and why some athletes struggling with concussions are turning to them for help.
We drive an hour northwest of Denver, climbing an elevation through canyons into the clouds, where snow is still on the ground and paved roads turn to mud. It leads us to the sprawling 6-bedroom home in the sun-drenched mountains of Golden, Colorado.
Hello. What's going on, man?
It's here we meet Daniel Carcillo, a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, who's transforming this into a psilocybin retreat house for his company, Experience Onward. This is where he plans to treat former athletes who have withstood years of head trauma leading to debilitating symptoms, desperate for relief, using the psychedelic compound psilocybin found in certain mushrooms. In Colorado, the drug is legal for adults over the age of 21.
What I've seen, like, it can give people a completely new world and just improve their life dramatically.
Former MMA fighter and wrestler Lance Palmer wants to see if the drug can dramatically improve his life. After years of taking punishing blows to the head. We meet with him hours before his first psilocybin treatment.
So I know it's not an end-all be-all, but it's another piece to the puzzle. Being able to live a long, healthy life after combat sports and be able to see my kids grow up and be able to remember that.
Carcillo is still waiting for final legal approval from the county and the state to treat at his new wellness retreat. So we are headed to Numia Healing Center in Denver. This is where Lance Palmer is going to dose for the first time. Palmer brings us inside the room where his psilocybin ceremony is overseen by Carolina Correa, who has a state license to administer the drug.
And as we exhale,
it starts with breath work and grounding. He goes over his pre-written intention and mantra, reminding him why he's doing this. The psilocybin is then brought into the room. It's 30 milligrams, a large amount, known as a hero dose. Palmer consumes it in 2 different forms, dried and in capsules. He washes it down with orange juice. Sound bowls are played.
So you put this one first.
Palmer lies down, puts on an eye mask and headphones.
The eye mask helps the participant. It removes the visual stimulation so they can really drop into an internal state.
We're with Palmer for 10 minutes before he enters an altered state. His psilocybin journey, he tells us, is filled with hallucinations lasting about 4 hours. We meet with him the next day.
That 4-hour period can feel like you're going through a whole list of processes in your mind and different scenarios in your life that you may need to work on, or things that just pop up that you go through.
Did this drug give you what you were looking for?
Health-wise, I already feel a million times better just coming out of that. Just feeling light, my mentality, the positivity out of it.
Researchers say archaeological evidence suggests humans used psilocybin as early as 3,000 years ago for pleasure, religious practices, and therapy. Today, the drug is illegal in the U.S. under federal law, and it's not approved for any medical condition. The drug has significant risks, including sometimes triggering psychosis. Regulations have eased in Oregon and here in Colorado, where Carcillo says psilocybin saved him. For 9 years, he was an enforcer in the NHL. Given the nickname Car Bomb, he would explode unpredictably.
How many fights were you in over the years?
164 in the NHL.
How many concussions?
Seven diagnosed.
His concussion symptoms overwhelming.
Your brain fog, brain fatigue, short-term, long-term memory loss, anxiety, depression, suicidal ideations.
Carcillo says he spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to fix his brain, from concussion clinics to acupuncture.
Did any of it work?
For very short amounts of time, yeah. But then everything would always stop working.
He then tried psilocybin.
I haven't had a symptom in 6 years.
It's estimated as many as 3.8 million Americans have a traumatic brain injury every year, and it can have lasting effects on mental health. A growing body of research suggests psilocybin may help alleviate the symptoms of depression and anxiety, and in theory, concussion symptoms.
We see all spectrum of injury.
Dr. Shay Dada is a sports neurologist and concussion specialist at NYU Langone Health.
The underlying thing of what psilocybin is doing to the brain is that it's acting as an anti-inflammatory. We know that when we have a concussion, there is an inflammatory cascade that happens. So imagine if someone punched you in the arm. You're gonna get a bruise, right? So it's kind of like the brain having a bruise when you get a concussion. And if you take Advil, then the pain is less, right? And then over time, the bruise fades and you put heat on it, you rest your arm. It's a similar concept for the brain. And if psilocybin is anti-inflammatory, I'm guessing that's where the benefits are coming from.
Our thanks to Perry Russin for that report. Coming up, Affording America, where residents are now moving to be able to cope with high housing prices. Plus, Siri has entered the chat. You need to know about the new AI features coming to Apple's virtual assistant.
For the ones who know well-prepared workdays land right on time, there's Grainger. For the ones who get it done. theaters and IMAX. Get tickets now.
Thanks for streaming with us. World Cup fever is hitting Southern California. More than 5,000 lucky fans got to watch the U.S. men's national team practice yesterday after winning a ticket in a packed lottery. Many fans say this was their only opportunity to see the U.S. men's team in person because ticket prices for matches are so high. The U.S. men's national team is preparing for its first match on Friday at SoFi Stadium, where they'll take on Paraguay in the group stage. Home prices are forcing an exodus from coastal cities. The average price for a home nationwide is now topped $400,000. Now, Midwest real estate agents say that they're seeing a surge of transplants from more expensive places like California and Florida. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze has the details from Cleveland.
Oh, it's the magic of Cleveland, Joy.
For years, shows like Hot in Cleveland made living in the Midwest a punchline.
Friends don't let friends move to Cleveland.
But now the Midwest is having a moment.
I'm 20 years old. I moved here from New York City.
People moving from the coast to cities like Cleveland, thanks to its more affordable cost of living.
Moving here was kind of like an exhale. Like we suddenly felt like it wasn't so stressful to live.
Lauren Silverman and her husband David moved here from LA when they were about to have a baby.
There's a lot more house for the money.
Would you have been able to buy a house like this in California?
Probably never.
You just feel that mobility in your life out here that you don't feel out west.
They're not alone. For the first time in years, census data shows a trend some called the Midwest exodus is reversing, with more people moving to cities in states like Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio than leaving them.
If they go to a market like Cleveland, where prices are much lower, it provides a much more accessible